Lucha Underground was a wrestling series that shattered the conventions of the arena-style, multi-camera wrestling production. Rejecting the standard approach, it crafted each match with dynamic camera angles, atmospheric lighting, and intricately choreographed sequences, transforming every bout into a cinematic spectacle. It's more than just wrestling. It's storytelling through motion, blending action with narrative depth. The result is a visceral experience that feels more like you're watching a movie than a Monday Night Raw. Now, consider Nickel Boys.
Whoa! That's it, Em. You're doing great.
A film that uses first-person perspective to pull viewers into the harsh realities faced by its protagonists. Much like Lucha Underground immerses audiences in its world through cinematic techniques, Nickel Boys places you directly in its characters' shoes. The subjective camera work doesn't just tell the story, it forces you to live it, confronting uncomfortable truths with raw intimacy. Both Lucha Underground and Nickel Boys prove that storytelling isn't just about plot, it's about perspective. By reinventing how we see their worlds, they transform passive viewing into an immersive experience. They use cinematic techniques to draw us in and challenge how we engage with their narratives. In doing so, they remind us that the most impactful stories aren't just watched, they're felt.
Up next, our focus is a complete unknown, covering Bob Dylan's emergence as a folk music star as well as the personal relationships that came along with that ascent. The picture portrays Dylan's increasing success with notable restraint, sporting a fittingly casual demeanour and tone. It certainly isn't all a calm stroll, however, with Dylan ultimately becoming the new face of the folk genre, only to cause great controversy with his use of electric instruments.
I'm not sure they want to hear what I want to play, Johnny.
I want to hear it.
How does it feel?
His famed performance at the 1965 Newport Folk Festival is spotlighted, receiving jeers in response to his divisive direction. That audience is left feeling betrayed, much like the Daytona Beach crowd at Bash of the Beach 1996. Though he could claim otherwise on any given day, Hulk Hogan did not transform folk music that night, but he did trade in the red and yellow for the NWO's soon-to-be iconic black and white. Much like Pete Seeger, Mean Gene Okerlund finds himself stranded at the scene of the supposed crime, unable to halt his cohort's emerging controversy.
Did you ever listen to the music you're telling me not to play?
The Substance tells the story of Elizabeth Sparkle, a former actress who was unceremoniously fired from her daily aerobics show by her producer Harvey. He informs the 50-year-old Sparkle that people always ask for something new, and at 50, it stops. After their conversation, a distraught Sparkle watches as a billboard featuring herself is already being torn down, causing her to wreck her vehicle. After the accident, she's taken to the hospital where a nurse gives her a flash drive labeled The Substance. The Substance is a black market drug that promises its users a younger, more attractive self. Elizabeth's experiences with ageism, unattainable beauty standards, and being at the mercy of a powerful misogynist is comparable to the treatment experienced by numerous women at the hands of Vince McMahon and his cronies. Much like Harvey, Vince views women as objects who must meet his strict definition of what it is to be beautiful, to be viewed as valuable in any way. While there are many examples of this type of treatment, both featured in storylines playing out on television and those documented in lawsuits against the company, Luna Vachon and her feud with Sable is what first comes to my mind. Luna was a veteran of her craft and was incredibly talented, but because she didn't display the conventional beauty those in charge wanted associated with the women's division, she was used as nothing more than a means to an end. Like Sparkle, she sacrificed her body for someone who was less experienced, but viewed as more valuable due to their age and appearance. Both Elizabeth Sparkle and Luna Vachon's stories are tragic and tie into themes of how society and those in power dictate beauty standards. And because of that fact, two women who paved the way for others were used up by their respective professions and employers and tossed aside for younger, hotter models.
People are gonna love that.
We now look at I'm Still Here, a powerful drama that follows Eunice Paiva, a Brazilian woman forced to rebuild her life after a devastating family tragedy during a brutal military dictatorship. Her journey is one of quiet defiance and deep loss, capturing the struggle to reclaim dignity and hope under oppressive forces. With Walter Salah's intimate direction, the film turns personal grief into a universal story of perseverance and human resilience. Now, consider the iconic Yes movement, where beloved underdog Daniel Bryan defied the authority. This wasn't just about winning a title. It was a battle for identity and creative freedom against forces trying to suppress his individuality. Both I'm Still Here and the Yes movement explore the struggle to maintain one's identity in the face of overwhelming opposition. Whether through the intimate lens of historical drama or the electrifying atmosphere of a wrestling arena, they remind us that the fight for dignity and self-expression is universal, and that the most powerful stories aren't just about survival, but about the courage to remain true to oneself.
Ai, que é triste. Nós vamos sorrir. Sorriam.
¿Eres tú? Mingo.
Next up, we have Emilia. Ooh.
Let's talk about Conclave.
The Pope is dead.
Now, this is a slowly built yet compact mystery / thriller that's centered around Cardinal Thomas Lawrence,
The Conclave begins now.
who is the Dean of the College of Cardinals, who, in the midst of having a crisis of faith, is tasked with conducting a papal conclave following the Pope's passing. The story of Conclave takes several winding turns.
He was never on our list.
As the scandals of the favorites are revealed, secrets of the power-hungry are unveiled, and self-identities of many are questioned.
He has to be an imposter.
You look anxious. Everything under control.
Now, Conclave reminds me a lot of the current WWF main event scene heading into WrestleMania 41, believe it or not. See, the struggle between the likes of CM Punk, Seth Rollins, John Cena, Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, and The Rock for power, gold, and the placement at the top of the Federation very much so mirror the struggle for power amongst the Cardinals within Conclave. John Cena's questioning of if he still has what it takes to be a world champion.
Tonight, I officially announce my retirement from the WWE.
Somewhat mirrors the questioning that Cardinal Lawrence experiences about his faith and if he has what it takes to conduct this conclave with where he is at spiritually.
Go ahead, leave. Main event night 4 of a buy one, get one free extravaganza.
CM Punk's obvious desperation to do the one thing that has eluded him his entire career, main event WrestleMania, and his willingness to do whatever he has to achieve that, very much so invokes the underhanded actions of Cardinal Tremblay throughout Conclave. And Roman Reigns' seemingly unbreakable grasp on the top of the card very much so relates to the hold that Cardinal Goffredo has throughout the movie in terms of his lead within the conclave to become Pope. And while I don't really think that this Mania build will have as much of a satisfying ending as this great movie does, I do think that both these stories hit home in a very similar way, and that the sense that they both showcase the power of hope. How it is a beautiful thing that keeps us pushing towards achievement and betterment. But when we are blinded by desire and greed, it can be corrupted into an incredible danger. Certainty.
Conclave, it's not a war.
It is a war.
The struggle of Cody Rhodes and Paul Atreides share a common denominator. Both lone figures trying to unite separate factions against powerful regimes. Two figures fighting to restore the legacy of their fathers. Cody looking to finish the story his father could never complete. Paul Atreides looking to follow his destiny, his prophesied path as Lisan al-Gaib. Not to be overlooked is the overwhelming dominance of the antagonists. Roman Reigns had his bloodline, the wise man, and the return of the final boss to insulate him from Cody. Emperor Shaddam IV had the vile and sadistic Harkonnen clan looking to remove the hindrances to the flow of spice and the last traces of House Atreides. Both Paul and Cody's stories reflect the timeless hero's journey. where loss, sacrifice, return, and destiny collide. In both cases, monumental setbacks lead to even greater victories. Whether fighting through the sands of Arrakis or the squared circle of WWE, their stories remind us that true greatness isn't given, it's earned.
Now we examine The Brutalist, a sprawling, over 3.5-hour-long epic chronicling the life of Laszlo Tope, a Hungarian Jewish architect who escapes the Holocaust hoping to live the promised American dream. His journey, filled with personal triumphs and crushing setbacks under the weight of a manipulative patron, embodies the timeless clash between raw artistic vision and the controlling forces of capitalism. The comparison is with the legendary Iron Man match between MJF and Bryan Danielson. This 60-minute battle isn't just about physical endurance, it's a high-stakes contest of pride and creative willpower. MJF, who proudly embraces his Jewish heritage and challenges stereotypes, channels a similarly defiant spirit as Tope. Both stories, whether on-screen or in the squared circle, explore the power struggle between the independent artist and the external forces trying to shape their vision. Together, they remind us that epic journeys are defined by the relentless fight to maintain one's creative soul.
Let's talk Anora. Ani, a sex worker in the heart of Brooklyn, New York, has her life changed at the drop of a dime when the spoiled son of a Russian oligarch walks through the doors of HQ. Quickly becoming enthralled by each other's presence, the two hit it off when Vanya proposes something beyond Ani's wildest dreams, marrying into a wealthy family and leaving the sex work behind.
15. Cash up front.
Deal. It's almost impossible for her to fathom, and even more impossible for Vanya's family to believe.
Меня зовут Anora.
Enraged by what could possibly be seen as a blemish on the family legacy, Nikolai, Vanya's father, sees to it that his henchmen have the marriage annulled before having to take matters into his own hands. When confronted by said henchmen, Vanya flees, abandoning Ani alone with 3 captors with intentions to crush her dreams.
Vanya, what the fuck?
Ani and said captors head off with the only goal in mind to find Vanya before it's too late, only to circle back to the place where it all started, HQ, Ani's Gentlemen's Club. There they find Vanya, and Ani is faced with the terrifying possibility that her relationship may have been a transactional one all along, one built on lust, fortune, and the desire for companionship. The dynamic between Vanya and Ani is not only unique to the silver screen, but can also be found in the squared circle as well. Much like the first time Vanya laid eyes on Ani, Dominic Mysterio was quickly smitten by Liv Morgan. And much like Vanya, Dominic Mysterio comes from a rich family legacy built off the shoulders of their fathers, in which the sons benefit greatly. And much like Rey Mysterio, it's heavily implied that Nikolai has done his fair share of murders in his time. At the 2024 edition of SummerSlam, Liv and Dom's love come to fruition in dramatic fashion, when Dominic cost Mommy her championship bout with Liv Morgan.
Dominic, you sorry two-timing son of a bitch!
Immediately recognizable is the parallel transactional relationship between the two, with Liv now attaching herself to one of the most overacts in the company and reaping all of the benefits that come with that, and Dominic being completely swooned by the lustful nature of their relationship. Though we've not seen how their relationship concludes, based on the Anora picture, it's safe to assume that the pairing would not be long for this world, and likely go down in flames in spectacular fashion.
Me go fuck myself, me fuck myself, you go fuck yourself and your fucking mother, motherfucker!
Finally, we look at Wicked, a film that redefines villainy by peeling back the layers of a character once dismissed as pure evil.
You're green.
I am. Through splashy visuals and intricate character development, the film reveals hidden depths of pain, ambition, and vulnerability beneath a hardened exterior. It challenges our preconceptions, showing that what we label as wicked is often the product of personal loss and internal conflict. It transforms a one-dimensional villain into a story of deep loss and true human complexity. A similar evolution can be seen in the monster Abyss from TNA, Initially introduced as a seemingly unstoppable force, Abyss captivated audiences with his eerie presence and raw physicality. Over time, however, his character underwent a transformation, revealing layers of internal turmoil, personal tragedy, and unexpected vulnerability beneath the intimidating facade. Abyss's evolution subverts the typical notion of a one-dimensional villain, inviting fans to see the complexity behind the persona, a blend of pain, loss, and the struggle to reconcile his darker impulses with his hidden humanity. Together, these narratives remind us that even those cast in the role of a villain often harbor deep-seated wounds that shape their actions. Both Wicked and Abyss's journey remind us that there's always more beneath the surface, showing the depth of human emotion that makes every story meaningful. Some may even say we no longer exist in a world of black and white. Rather, the landscape has become a canvas of muted grays, where good is indistinguishable from evil and renegades receive a hero's embrace.